Yuri Foreman lives in two worlds. As a WBA super welterweight champion, Foreman moves in a physical world, his hands wrapped and then gloved to be used as weapons. As an Orthodox Jew training to become a rabbi, Foreman also inhabits a spiritual world, his hands wrapped in tefillin to remind him of his covenant with God. In one world, Foreman is a master. In the other, he's an apprentice. In the melding of both worlds, he finds serenity and his calling.
Judaism teaches that human person is spiritual and physical. In order to go to the higher levels of being more spiritual, you have to actually delve into physical life.
Foreman, who's 29, is blending these two worlds seamlessly. At 5'11" and 150 pounds, he's undefeated in 29 bouts. In the next 3 years, he'll be ordained an Orthodox rabbi. For Foreman, his boxing and his faith have always been linked, or at least since the day 22 years ago when, as a 7-year-old, he was bullied during a swim class in his native Belarus.
They called me a Jew, and I get beat up. And I came home, and my mom was worried about me, and she decided to take me to boxing gym.
That put an end to the bullying. Foreman was hooked. As a teenager in Israel, where his family moved when he was 10, his passion for pugilism only deepened. When he was 19, to pursue a career in the ring, he moved to New York.
I thought, like, I have to go to the place where boxing is the sport, you know? And I only knew it's New York. I came here and America dream.
In New York, with no money, no family, and no connections, Foreman survived by hauling racks of clothing around the garment district. At night, he trained at Gleason's gym in Brooklyn, a cradle of champions. His amateur career took off, but something was missing. When did your religious awakening occur?
During the bright suits and garment district, same time boxing, tough times. When I didn't have no money, so tough, physically challenging, mentally very challenging, exhausting. And I figured that I need some kind of a spiritual backbone.
Foreman turned to his Jewish roots. Between his relentless training sessions at Gleason's, he immersed himself in the faith of his fathers. Inside and outside the ring, he achieved a kind of equilibrium. At Gleason's, he met his wife, Layla Ladeker, a former model and amateur boxer. Together, Yuri and Layla became interested in Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah. Eventually, they attended a lecture by Dov Ber Pinson, an Orthodox Brooklyn rabbi.
In the class, I mentioned that life is like a boxing match, and so long as you're still breathing, you can still get up, then there's still potential to win. And after the class, he comes over to me and he said, by the way, I'm a professional boxer, and this talked to me a lot.
Well, it's one thing to become observant. It's another thing to decide to become a rabbi. How did that all happen?
At that time, I was already pretty much fascinated by Judaism, and so for me to study in this rabbinical program, it's an opportunity to explore Judaism in more deeper level.
In 2007, Foreman enrolled in a 5-year rabbinical studies program run by Pinson. Since then, he's attended classes 3 days a week, even as he trains 5 days a week at Gleason's, studying the Old Testament and the Talmud, then honing his technique in the ring, praying and mastering the intricacies of Jewish law,
Then the pot gives taste to the dvash.
Building endurance and strength.
I think it fits him like really comfortably. Like, I don't see it as a challenge because he structured his days around like he studies when he's fresh, then he goes to train.
Foreman's fighting style reflects his training as a man of the cloth. In his 29 fights, he's only had 8 knockouts.
A young man in this vicious, aggressive game that is so subtle, so laid back. You know, you ask yourself, how does this kid fit in? But he has his own style, and he's been able to fit the two of them together.
He's not a crowd-pleasing type fighter. I suppose if you're a fan of don't get hit and then hit, you might find something spiritual about a pure boxer like Yuri Foreman.
He wants to win fights, and he wants to win with skill, and he doesn't want to hurt anybody. After all, he's a future rabbi. Future rabbis don't want to hurt people.
But when necessary, this future rabbi can inflict pain. Fighting last November for the WBA title, Foreman punished the heavily favored reigning champion Daniel Santos. Now Foreman faces the biggest fight of his career. On June 5th, he'll defend his title for the first time at the new Yankee Stadium against former champion Miguel Cotto of Puerto Rico.
It's going to be exciting. I mean, like, looking at this building, it's beautiful and magnificent, you know, and it's amazing to see my picture there. It's crazy.
In the hours leading up to the title fight, Foreman will pray, observing the Jewish Sabbath. When the sun sets, he'll exchange his tefillin for 10-ounce gloves. Yuri Foreman's worlds again blending into each other.
Judaism helps me in the ring. When you're in the ring, I find it a very spiritual moment. Boxing helps me to be more serious about my religion, and the Judaism helps me to be a more serious boxer.